So our seat plan view is visible right now. User will be able to see the seat plan view based on the bus type. If I go back and select another schedule that has a different bus type like AC economy, if I click that, then you will see the seat plan is different and you will be able to scroll because this small area is not enough to fit all the seats, so we have actually made this area scrollable by putting the seat plan view inside a single child scroll view. So now we have to do few more things to make this page fully complete. And first of all, we need to make this seat selectable. We have defined a seat widget for that. Inside the seat plan view.dart file, we have a seat widget that corresponds each and every seat, and it has an inkwell widget and onTap function. And inside this onTap function, we haven't done anything yet, so this click event is not working. So to make this button work, what we need to do is inside this onTap function, first of all, we need to call a setState function, because whenever a user click an available seat, its color will be changed to something else. That means we need this widget to be rebuilt every time users select these seats. So once users say click available seat, it will turn green, and if a user clicks or presses the same seat once again, it will become available and it will turn into a gray color once again. So inside this setState method, we need to toggle this boolean value. That means the value of selected will be not selected. So if we do this and now press hot reload, I think if I now press, it will work. So I'm pressing, it's turning green, and once again I'm clicking, then it's going back to its normal form. But it's not just it, we need to do more things, because whenever user select a seat, we need these seat numbers. And we need these seat numbers to be stored somewhere. And that somewhere is in the seat plan page. At the top of seat plan page, we have a list of string selected seats. So we need to have these seat numbers stored as a string inside this list. So we need to carry these seat numbers from this seat widget, to seat plan view, and then from here we will carry our seat numbers to this seat plan page. And to do that, we actually passed several callback functions. So whenever we created this seat plan view widget inside this seat plan page widget, and just here, so we are creating a seat plan view widget, and we have passed a function, a callback function, and we have received that callback function here. And this callback function actually passed through each of the seat widget. So whenever we are creating a seat widget, we actually pass this on select function. So now whenever we select one of the seats, maybe for selection or unselection, we toggle the selected value, and now it's time to call this function on select. So now I'm calling the widget dot on select, and I need to pass a boolean value because this function requires a parameter of type boolean, and as the parameter I will just the selected value. So it will be either true or false. Now we call this function. This function will eventually call the function that we passed in the seat widget right here. So onSelect method will be called, and the boolean value is here. Now we have the boolean value. Now we will call another function that we have passed from this page to that page through this constructor. So now we will call this function onSeatSelected. So we are carrying the variables all the way from seat widget to seat plan view to the seat plan page in order to store the data here, or to call some network call or have the provider method call. So we don't want our provider object to be passed in the deepest widget tree. That's why these callback methods are very useful. So now inside this on select seat plan view on select method, I have already called the on seat selected function, and I pass the boolean value and also the seat level. So this list here we actually created in the previous video that actually consists of all the seat numbers. That means all the rows and all the columns. So now we are passing the boolean value and the level to the onSeat by calling the onSeat selected function, which will eventually call the function inside the seat plan page and just here. So onSeat selected. So we have the boolean value, we have the seat numbers, and now we need to add this seat to this list as a string. But remember, this click event, all this click event will trigger either user select or unselect. That's why we need this boolean value. So if this value is true, that means the seat is selected and we want this level to be inserted in this list. And if this value is false, that means user actually unselected a seat, we will remove this seat from this list. So inside this function, we will actually check whether the user selected or unselected the seat by measuring this boolean value. So if value, that means if it's true, then we will add this seat number to the selected seats and add seat. And if it's false, then else we will simply remove selected seats dot remove, and we will pass the seat level that will remove the seat from the list. One more thing we want to do for every click function, that is, there is a text here after the selected text. So whatever text we select, this should be written here. So I have pressed A2 and A3, then A2 comma A3 should be there. So to do that, we need to update that string, and remember that is not a normal string. That is a string which is wrapped inside a value notifier. So we need to update the value, the actual value of this variable. So after we check the boolean value, the next thing we need to do is selected seat notifier dot value, that means the actual string value, and we will assign the selected seats the list that contains all the seat numbers, and we will join all the items in that list by a delimiter, that means a comma. Don't forget to put a semicolon after the line. And now whenever this value changes, and this value is actually observed by this widget, this value listenable builder. So whenever a value changes, this widget actually rebuild again instead of rebuild the whole build function. And that's why I didn't use the setState function this time, because if I had not taken this as a value notifier, I had to take this as a normal string, and to change the value of a normal string, I had to call the setState function. And as you know, setState eventually calls the whole build function and every widgets are rebuilt. So actually this is not a problem for Flutter, because Flutter very efficiently render these widgets or rebuild these widgets. Sometimes it replaces or sometimes it don't. So to avoid calling the build function again and again, that's why I took this string wrapped inside a value notifier, so that only this portion is rebuilt whenever this value is changed, and it will give the updated value, and the text widget will change its text through this value. So now if I actually click hot to reload, and then going back to the page, previous page, and clicking the schedule once again, and whenever I click any of the seats like C2, you can see there is a change of this text widget. So C2 and Sriti, or seat 4 or D3, D4, so everything is perfectly working. And if I unselect, then you will see that this string value is changing as well. So we have done everything for our user to select or unselect seats. Now there is one more thing that is left for this page, that is we have to show our user the already reserved seats, and that's why we need to go to the database or our temporary database table, reservation table, to get all the reservation that actually matches a specific departure date, and the selected already reserved seats will be marked as red, and that seats will not be selectable. So we need to handle the situation so that reserved seats, red marked seats, cannot be selected or unselected by the user. So we'll do that in the next lecture.